If you are feeling unmotivated, or maybe sometimes you feel unmotivated when you have either a lot of things to get done or one really big important project or task that you need to finish and you're not motivated to get started, we're going to talk about number one, as always, the why behind that, why that might be, and then stay until the end of this video because I'm going to share with you a very simple 5-step process that can help you get motivated, get started, stay motivated, and actually get things done, complete your project, complete your task. And this is going to elevate your confidence and help you feel more prepared and ready and procrastinate less the next time. Maybe even go ahead and jump in and get started right away on that next bigger thing. Each step. All right, so let's first talk about the why. It is human nature to sometimes feel unmotivated, but it could be for a number of reasons. And I always like to focus on it, trying to figure out the why, because the why is the real root of the issue. Not that it has to be a huge problem, it could just be something small. But once you identify what the challenge is, then you are empowering yourself to give yourself what you need. But first you need to identify what that is. So it could be that maybe you're just tired and you need some rest. I know my strengths and I know my areas of improvement. Just like everyone, I'm a work in progress as well. But one thing I have continued to improve on over the years is self-awareness. And so I've gotten really, really strong in being aware of myself and aware of others. And the benefit of increasing your self-awareness is the ability to identify a challenge quickly, and then you can identify a tool or a resource that you need quickly. And so I'm very good at paying attention to how I feel and what I need. And I tend to be very motivated anyway, but I know when I'm tired, and I know when I don't feel like doing something. I can typically figure out the reason why. And then as a result, I can go give myself what it is I need and then come back and feel energized and motivated. So sometimes we're just tired. And if you need to give yourself some rest, maybe take a 15-minute nap, maybe your eyes need a break from the computer, maybe your brain needs a break, give yourself that break. Pay attention to how you're feeling, and that will point you in the direction of what you need, and then you can give yourself what you need. This is very empowering because you are utilizing your own resources and you are becoming your own best resource. So that could be the issue, that you just feel tired. Another common challenge that I often see people struggling with when it comes to getting motivated to get started and get things done is folks who are a perfectionist. Now, it sounds like it could be a positive trait, and it can be in some ways, always striving to do better and better and better, because we can always improve. I revise both of my books 10 times, and when I'm writing papers now for my master's program, I could revise forever and ever. Even once I get back the final grade on the paper from the instructor, I go ahead and revise it again with their feedback, implementing their comments and suggestions. It just helps me learn, and it's all about everything that we do. If you think about it this way, it'll maybe help take some pressure off. Is about learning and growing, and with that, you're going to improve. And that also means that by definition, there is actually no such thing as perfection, because there's always room for improvement. And so what you want to do, if you identify with feeling the pressure of needing things to be perfect, needing to know that the end result is going to be perfect before you get started, I invite you to really challenge yourself to start switching your perspective around this belief, because there is no such thing as perfection. And let's say you did reach your definition of perfection. And real quick, that's another reason that there's no such thing as perfection, because your definition of perfection will be different from what my picture of perfection looks like. And I don't believe in perfection at all. I'm all about improving and persevering and learning, and I love the revising process. That's my favorite part of writing, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But pay attention to how you feel about when you are getting ready to embark on a task or a project, and you know that it's something that you need to get done, but something's holding you back from getting started. And see if you can identify if for you that happens to be the need to be perfect. And of course, the 10th time you do something, you will be much more improved than the first time. And with that, knowledge is power. And with that knowledge, that can give you some confidence, hopefully, to just go ahead and get started, because your second time you try, you're always going to be slightly improved at least than the first. So you want to get started and you want to try. And with a project, let's say you're just completing the project one time, well, you're going to improve as you work through the project, because you're going to gain momentum, you're going to gain increased focus. There's no such thing as perfection, so you might as well just get started. Really, this belief that I have that there's no such thing as perfection has really helped me in my master's program, because it's a really tight schedule, it's a really packed, busy schedule with a lot of content, a lot of reading, a lot of time invested in the projects after each class, and then you have the class time. And then I've got my full-time workload, my recruiting work and the other aspects of my business. I don't have a lot of time. And so what I do, actually, we'll save that until the end of the video, the actual process that I go through. But one of the things that I do is I don't worry about being perfect. It doesn't matter. Let me just go. Let me just start. Let me just get something down on paper, and then we'll go from there and work to improve it. And maybe it's a little bit different from what other students in the class or what the instructor maybe had in mind. I mean, within reason. But I'm learning and I'm applying it to what is relevant to me. And I'm not worried about being perfect. If you are a perfectionist, I would invite you to get curious about how you feel about yourself, because who cares if it's perfect? If it's so important to you for something to be perfect, I invite you to get curious about why that is. And what does it mean? What's going to happen? What is the absolute worst possible thing that's going to happen if the first time you try is not perfect? And hopefully you can start to take some pressure off of yourself, because the perfectionist pressure is not a good thing. In my opinion, it doesn't typically result in something positive. More often, it keeps people, the need to be perfect and striving for perfection keeps people from getting started, and so it can keep you stuck. So if you just take that pressure off of yourself and you get started, you're going to improve and get better and better and better. Another reason that you might feel unmotivated to work on a task or project is that maybe it's too big of a project. And what you want to do in that case is just break it down into smaller action steps. And then you create these mini milestones for yourself where you can celebrate, okay, good job, I got this part done. Okay, good job, I got this part done. I even do that with reading all of the content. It's a lot of content. So if I read 10 pages of a chapter for the book for one of my classes, I tell myself, good job, you read 10 pages. And then I've got some momentum, and I also have confidence in myself that of course I can go and read the next 10 pages. And maybe that sounds a little bit silly, but I really believe in the practice, what I like to call the practice of good job, telling yourself good job, because this equips you with more self-confidence, and then you continue to elevate your self-confidence to go and do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then what happens is when you sit down to do something that's maybe going to be really challenging, your perspective around that next bigger project, bigger task shifts a bit away from, this is going to be really stressful, this is going to be really challenging, I don't know if I can do this, I don't even want to get started, to, of course I can do this. Let me just get started and see what happens. Recapping reasons why you may feel unmotivated and what to do about it. One, you just don't feel like doing the thing. So in this case, you want to identify maybe there's something else that you feel like doing that you need to give yourself. Maybe you're just tired, so maybe you need some rest, maybe your brain needs a break, maybe there's something else that you really want to do, so you can maybe go ahead and do that thing, get it out of your system, and then come back and get started on the task. Maybe the task feels too big, and in that case you want to just break it down into those smaller action steps, and using SMART goals is a great way to do that. Just break down the task into, when you have a bigger goal, you want to break it down into smaller mini goals, mini milestones, and then you're going to feel like you are making progress, and then you're going to feel successful as you move through the challenge. And SMART goals, real quick again, are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So you want to give yourself very specifically, this is what I'm going to do, even break it down, and then it needs to be measurable. How are you going to know that you achieved it? And it needs to be achievable. You need to be able to actually do it. It needs to be relevant toward what you are working on, and then you want to give yourself a time bound your goal by when you want to accomplish that goal. And then we talked about being a perfectionist and the need to have your project or whatever it is be perfect before you actually feel confident getting started on it. And what you want to do about that is get curious about why you need your project to be perfect, why you need to be perfect, and realize that there's actually no such thing as perfection. Why? Because your definition of perfection will always be different from mine and everybody else's. And the second reason there's no such thing as perfection is because you will always improve with practice. All right, now it's time for the 5-step process. Thanks for sticking around on how you can get motivated, get started, stay motivated, and actually complete the task or the project. Once you identify your goal, your project, your task, what you want to do after that, number 1, is time block. Creating time blocks, I feel, takes a lot of pressure off because you're just committing to this certain amount of time. I'm going to sit and I'm going to focus and work on getting my task done. It could be a 90-minute time block. It could be a 2-hour time block, but sometimes even that feels too big. If you ever say to yourself or have said to yourself, I've done this before and I imagine you have as well in the past, okay, I'm just gonna wait until this weekend and then I have the whole weekend to work on my project. That is too much time. It's too much time to ask yourself to sit and focus the whole weekend. And what does that even mean? It's not even really specific enough. So what you want to do is give yourself a smaller time block, and you want to set it for a time of day where you feel focused and energized, and that can look different for each and every one of us. So for me, it's the morning time. That's when I'm highly focused and I'm highly energized, and so I'm going to be able to concentrate. Also, nobody else is up. I'm not getting emails. I'm not getting phone calls, and so I can really focus. And what that means is that I can optimize that time and get more done in less time. So it'll be different for each of us. I challenge you, invite you to get curious about when that time is for you. When do you feel most energized? When do you feel most focused? Because then in that time, you could get done twice as much as what you could maybe get done during those times where your energy and brain power starts to fade a little bit, which for me, that's in the evening. And then so in the evening, I'll save evening time for those mundane tasks that I need to get done, and I can still be productive and feel productive, but they don't require as much brain power. Now, even if a 1-hour time block is feeling like a bit too much pressure, you really don't want to do the thing, give yourself a 20-minute time block. This is very powerful in helping you to get started. You just tell yourself, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to focus my attention for 20 minutes, and then we'll see what happens. And typically what happens nearing the end of that 20 minutes, you want to go for another 20 minutes, and then before you know it, you've given yourself a 1-hour time block where you've worked towards your goal. And then if you want, you can go ahead and set it aside. And what I encourage you to do with your time blocks is to give yourself rewards. So I have a lot of energy. I also like to focus on my projects, and I can sit and focus if I'm writing something or working on content creation. I can sit and focus for 2 hours, maybe even 10 hours at a time. When I was writing my books, I don't really have time to do that right now. But anyhow, I can do that. However, I also have a lot of energy. So sometimes in addition to my workout, I'm gonna get my workout in first thing in the morning each day. But then after I've been sitting at the computer with content creation or searching or coaching or whatever, I wanna get moving again. But this is my time block, I need to get started here. Then what I'll do is say, okay, I'm gonna sit here for 30 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours, and then I'm going to give myself the reward of going for a walk. So give yourself time blocks, and once you complete your time block, this is a mini milestone that you can tell yourself, good job, and then you can go get your reward, whether it's going for a walk for you like it is for me, or something else that you might want to do. Okay, once you have created your time block, what are you going to do when you sit down and to get started in that time block? Whatever the project is for you, I think a great way to start in most cases is brainstorming. Brainstorming is powerful because it helps you to create momentum. You need to get started and then you just keep going. But a big reason why is there's no pressure. And another great thing about brainstorming is you're going to surprise yourself with all of the knowledge that you are already equipped with inside. And what you want to do with brainstorming is you just want to get it on the page. You're not writing complete sentences, you're just writing thoughts, sentence fragments, ideas. I use brainstorming when I'm writing a paper, when I was writing my books, and I'll use it for the future books that I write, and in content creation, in creating my business models and business plans for the different aspects of my business, like my coaching programs, for example. First, I'm getting all of my ideas out on paper. Okay, so the first step is time blocking, and then the second action step is brainstorming. And then depending on the project that you're working on, the third tip that can be very useful after you have sat down and given yourself your time block, after you have done your brainstorming, is to then create an outline. And each of these are small action steps. If you're noticing, they don't take a lot of time, they don't take a tremendous amount of energy. And the energy required with each step progresses as you go, but by that point you have built more and more momentum and you've got more energy and more focus to get that next step done. Time blocking, brainstorming, and then with your brainstorming notes, you want to put that into an outline. And this really helps you to organize your thoughts. Is the step before your rough draft. Now, this doesn't have to be just if you are writing a book. It can also be with a business plan or with a project that you need to work on. Organizing your thoughts gives you more focus and more momentum and more confidence in getting your project done. Think about it. If you just sit down to write a business plan and you're just getting started, you have too many thoughts jumbling around in your mind, most likely, and so it can be really hard to focus. And then it can be really easy to get up and be tempted by that distraction. But the more focused you are, the better you're going to be, the more disciplined you will be about putting that aside and staying focused, because you're actually enjoying what you're working on and you're confident in your ability to stay focused. So once you do your brainstorming, then you want to break that down and put your thoughts, group your thoughts together and put it into an outline. And then this is going to make it much easier to get started, whether you're writing a paper, a book, a business plan. And I think that these tips can likely relate to most goals out there, because it starts with you, your ideas, your knowledge, and what you have to offer. And so you want to just brainstorm and get that, all of your ideas and solutions and tools that you are already equipped with down on paper. And then you want to build from there. And I promise you, you're going to surprise yourself with all of the knowledge that you have within you. It's going to elevate your confidence, these steps, and it's going to make you feel really good. And you can even do this when you're planning for an interview. You can brainstorm your strengths, your challenges, and this is going to help you be better prepared and speak to those during the interview. And after you have your outline, what you want to do is write your rough draft. And again, it can be for a business plan. It doesn't have to be for a paper. It doesn't have to necessarily be for a writing project. Maybe it's a slide deck presentation, but then you've got your outlines. So then you're basically just taking and plugging in what you've already done. Rule of thumb with your rough draft, you just want to write it all the way through. You don't want to correct yourself as you go, because this creates start and stop. And it is very tempting to edit as you go, especially it is from myself as well, because again, I love the revision process. I love revising. There's always room to improve your writing, your slide deck. There's always ways to get better. But I don't strive for perfection. The finished product eventually is the finished product, and it's go time. Publish, print, practice, it's time to go. There will be room for improvement on the next project. But yes, after you do your outline, you just want to take and plug in the bullet points and then expand them where it makes sense. Or if you're writing, you're going to just write the whole rough draft and just write it all the way through without checking your work. And then of course, the final and fifth step is going to be revise. And this is where it's time to remember, work to improve, but not strive for perfection. And let me know which step most resonates with you, which one you think might be your favorite. Again, they are, once you've identified your goal, time blocking, brainstorming, outlining, your rough draft, and then revise. And then of course, if you're going to be giving a presentation, you want to practice, and that's a really fun part as well. Whenever I'm going to do a talk, I do all of these steps, and then I practice, and I enjoy practicing. It makes me feel good because it reminds me that I have value to bring in whatever area that I'm talking about. And this process is going to also elevate your confidence and show you that you have value to bring. I promise you, if you go through these steps with whatever project you're working on, even if it is preparing for an interview, and this could be a part of your Why Me presentation or your business plan or even your resume, just preparing and revising and then practicing talking about your resume. It's fun to talk about yourself. It's fun to talk about your strengths, and this will give you practice in preparing for the interview process so that you will be prepared and ready to go. So I do interview coaching, and I offer career coaching and hiring consulting, and then I'm also, of course, a writer and a content creator and a business owner, and I use these tips in everything I do. So hopefully they will help you. If you got some value from the video, I invite you to like and subscribe to the channel. That will help me grow the channel, and it will help you stay updated on my next video.